everyone, my name is Georgi Kolev and I'm part of the amazing Digiburn team. Digiburn is a platform for diagnostics and prevention of the burnout syndrome. It can also provide some strategies that can help recover from it. We started Digiburn with the intent to address and hopefully counter the negative trend of increasing burnout cases. The purpose of the following video series is to raise awareness on the topic by presenting the stories of people who went through the syndrome. Our first guest is Amova that will share her story and her encounter with the syndrome. Teddy has a unique approach of viewing what has happened to her as an opportunity for growth and also an invitation to change the way she views work. Hi Teddy and welcome.
Okay, a little bit about myself. I am 31 years old. Still can't believe how old I am. I still also can't believe that I recently became a mother, but that's like a whole different great experience of my life. Great, so I had a couple of businesses in the last 7-8 years, and right now I run a creative department for a big American company that deals with mobile apps. So you can say that marketing and creative and creating content is in my blood, and this is something I love doing. In terms of school, I attended an American university here, and then also I attended for a master's degree a college abroad in the UK. So I don't know, this is me. Like I have a bunch of other stuff about me. I've done musicals, I've performed on stage all around Bulgaria. So that's my personal hobby. I love singing, I love going out with friends. That's about it.
Tell us a bit more details about your education.
Right, so I did my bachelor's degree at an American university, as I mentioned. So the American School of Education is very intense. It requires a lot from you on a weekly basis, and also there are a lot of extracurricular activities that you can be a part of. For example, musicals, as it was for me in university. And this puts you in a place where there are constant things happening around you that you want to be part of and that you're expected to be part of. So from university onwards, you could say that I was always thriving to and striving to be 110%, because this was the environment that I was in and this was expected of me. The more you would do, the cooler you are. So this kind of started a vicious cycle for me of wanting to tap into different things that I do. And actually my sleep was really bad. I was constantly out, whether extracurriculars or going out to clubs or lectures, etc. And I was going 100 miles an hour. So this is something that from university onwards stuck with me, and then it actually developed into a very severe, I would say, burnout experience.
Okay, yeah. And how was it too competitive as an culture?
Absolutely. The college I attended was small, so everybody knew each other, and that made it even harder for people to not expect something from you. So that you have these peers that you see are constantly like, oh, he's getting these amazing grades, and she's the president of that club, and like that's gonna look super good on your CV. So all these things were expected from my peers and from the educators as well. And at the moment you're young, your blood is young, it's rushing, and you enjoy it, but you don't realize that it costs you a lot of personal stuff. For example, at some point, like you can't tell now, but I was really thin, like borderline really thin, and I didn't even notice that I had lost a bunch of weight. So that is part of the burnout culture, like go 110%, and it doesn't matter what happens with you, your body, your mind. It's just the whole thing that you start getting used to, and it is a culture, and it's very peer pressure type of culture.
I get it, yes. And after the university, perhaps did you continue with some type of internship, or how did you progress afterwards?
Right. So from university onwards, as I said, everything that you would do in this university, you do it because it's gonna look good in your CV. So from then on, you know that you're expected, even before you graduate, you're expected to have found something. So you need to be appealing towards employers. I was lucky to get a traineeship program in one of the big fast consumer good companies here. So I actually started my career immediately straight out from college. I started this traineeship program that took me from different departments like sales, marketing, R&D, finance, etc., etc. And it was a really great experience. But again, it's like go, 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 and you're this fresh blood of the company. So they constantly throw things at you, and they're like, yeah, she's young, she can handle it. She's young, she can handle it. And this is what you tell yourself as well. Like, yeah, of course I'm young. Like I at college, I was 110% running 100 miles an hour. Of course I can handle it. And again, this culture of expecting everything from you is transferred from college to the first workplace, and then it just kind of has a spillover effect. So whatever you do, it's already in your bones. You know that this is how you're supposed to be. This is what's expected of you. So even though I was really grateful for the career start that I got, it was tiring. And at some point I knew that I can't go on like that. I wanted to be at a specific department with a specific position. Unfortunately, that position did not open for me. So I said, okay, great, moving on. And that's when I did my master's degree in the UK. I ended up working for actually the same fast-moving consumer goods company, but in London, for one big project. That was way back in 2012, 13. And I got to actually rebrand a really big portfolio of products for that company. And then I thought, that's awesome, I can do that back home, why not? And that's when I came back to Bulgaria and founded my first consultancy company. This is how I met now my previous partner at the second company that we founded, because we had a mutual client. So after like 1.5 years of this consultancy, I joined a Dutch company in Bulgaria that was setting up routes exactly in content marketing, and it was an agency that we co-created. And it was great because then that was the place where I really felt like the CEO, the person who was making the decisions, and at some point we were around 15 people and we had more than 30 recurring clients on a monthly basis for different types of services. But that's when things started spiraling, and this is really where my burnout definitely manifested itself.
Looking to that, the beginning of that episode from the viewpoint of today, how do you say, what was the first thing that started it, or was it like the beginning of the process?
I don't think anybody ever realizes when the beginning of the process is. This is the problem with burnout. It kind of creeps up. It sneaks up on you. It's not something like you don't get hit by a bus one day and bam, the next day you're in the hospital. That's not how burnout happens. It first happens in your mind, and then your body follows. So one thing was like, again, striving to be constantly 110%, wanting to give 110% for my clients, for my staff. Also, I had a lot of responsibilities in terms of finances, like 15 people were counting on their salaries on a monthly basis. So huge load of responsibility was on me. And it's just overwhelming at some point. And this is where you realize, the moment you realize you're overwhelmed is when usually you're way into burnout. So it doesn't really happen like that. It is a process and you don't notice it.
What was maybe the first thing you've noticed back then in terms of symptoms or symptoms?
Sure. So the moment was, I think it was 10 p.m. On a Saturday, and I was in the office preparing a strategy for a new client. And at some point I realized that I hadn't seen my friends, like regular going out, hanging out, etc. for about 3 weeks. I had barely seen my then boyfriend, now my husband, for that whole week. And I wondered, how did I get to that point? But I didn't stop. I was like, okay, that doesn't matter. I'm gonna fix it at some point. Now I need to focus on this. So at some point you realize that everything goes in the back burner. All that you do is like work, focus, and then everything else you don't have the time for. So these are the first, for me, symptoms. When you start realizing, oh, my whole world is this one thing that I have been focusing on, and it's driving me really insane, and I'm being very tired all the time. So tiredness is definitely, being tired is one of the symptoms. And in terms of physical symptoms, it started manifesting itself with insomnia. And it's actually a very regular symptom for burnout, because part of the burnout is you cannot switch your brain off. This is the problem. Like, you're constantly thinking about things, you're constantly trying to be 3 steps ahead of yourself, thinking about all these things that you have to fix now, and your brain just never shuts off. And at some point I was sleeping around 3 to 4 hours a night, and I could not fall asleep before 3 a.m. at all. And by 6:30 I was like, okay, I gotta go. Now I need to hustle, I need to go to the office. And usually I would be in the office at around 7:30, and I would be very proud of myself. Like, I was so delusional that I would constantly post on social media, the hustle, the grind, 7 a.m., good morning from the office, etc. People like that. And this is part of the problem. It was at the beginning of the entrepreneurship culture, at least here in Bulgaria. So everybody was super excited. It was all new. And a lot of people were experimenting with a lot of different startups. So I think even that was part of it. Like, you had to be pedal to the metal. You had to be 100 miles an hour all the time, and that was expected of you. And also, I happened to be at an environment which was very male-dominated before we entered. So there are still very few female CEOs of agencies in Bulgaria. So this actually contributed to me trying to be 120%. If like the other people were 110, then I had to double prove myself. So again, I think for burnout specifically, females and males, I believe, experience it differently, and it depends on the type of environment that you put yourself in. As I mentioned previously, burnout kind of creeps up on you. It's not something that happens in a day. So I was constantly tired. I was constantly at the office. I never had time for my friends. At some point I realized that I had started drinking a lot as well. I wouldn't go so far to say that I was an alcoholic, but definitely I would have at least 2-3 glasses of whiskey in the office at night while I was working on emails. And this started becoming a habit, a daily habit. So I started noticing that things are not okay the moment I was so tired that I couldn't make proper business decisions anymore for my staff, for my clients, but that didn't stop me. So at some point my body literally snapped, and one Christmas I ended up in the hospital, completely numb from like the waist down, because my back had snapped in two. I have a problematic back. I have a double hernia on my back, so that got inflamed a lot, and I couldn't move. I literally had to crawl to go to the bathroom, and this is when they admitted me to the hospital. And my weird mind, and even then I didn't realize I was in a burnout. Like, I'm realizing it now and talking about it, but when I was living it, I didn't, because my logic was, great, I have 5 days in bed, now I can work in peace. So I was literally half paralyzed in the hospital, Christmas Eve, answering emails to clients. And because what else are you going to do in the hospital in the bed if you can't move, right? So at this point, I remember I was having like a quarrel with a client that we ended up dropping afterwards at Christmas. Like, who does that? Why, right? So this is when it really hit me that I need to make some changes. And I tried. After that, I tried to work less, but the reality is that I didn't. And it took me another year, and I got close to another burnout, but this time I knew the symptoms. And this is when I really had to stop, and I said to my partners, I'm really sorry guys, but I cannot. I'm not making the right business decisions for my staff. I'm not making the right business decisions for the business, for the clients. I need to step away. And this is when I decided, that's now 2.5 years ago, I decided I need to back away from my business. So So this is what happened. I was so lost mentally that I couldn't anymore. After I decided to leave my company, my mental health was my top priority. And the reality is I had to extract myself from the environment I was in, which for me meant moving to another city. I actually had the opportunity to spend the summer at the seaside to recover fully. And I took it because I had started being very toxic for the people around me, and it was just not a good relationship with anybody that was around me at this point. So I moved to the seaside, and this is when the burnout really actually hit me, because I remember I was so mentally tired, I couldn't make basic human decisions on a daily basis. My husband would ask me, "What do you want to have for dinner?" And I would stare at him for 20 minutes without knowing how to react. It was very, very severe. They have this saying, watching the paint dry. I literally was staring at a wall, watching the wall for 20 minutes. It was really, really bad. And this is when I realized that I need to make a plan of action and I need to get myself out of this situation. So what I did is I decided to do daily missions. So, for example, I would have the daily mission of going out to the park, renting out a bike, and just riding around with the bike for 2 hours. That was my mission for the day. And then I would kind of make the missions a bit harder and harder on a daily basis until I can reintroduce myself back into society. It was a process that took around 2 months. I knew that I need to be active, like I was, like 110% all the time, but put that into a healthy, active physical regime. So I was training, I was waking up at 7 a.m., I was training at 7:30, functional training and CrossFit with a trainer. I was in a very good shape at the time for that summer. And this is something that really, really helped with my mental health as well. So definitely physical exercise does help with burnout recovery.
What happened afterwards?
Right, so about a month and a half in of recovering, I realized that my brain is finally functioning again. So I was anxious to start working, but fewer projects. So I started doing some consultancy projects here and there. And actually another therapy for me was to speak out about burnout. So one thing I did was I started doing articles in Medium. I started posting on social media about the experience and putting it in a very positive way of like, okay, I was there, I hit the bottom, and this is my way of getting back to myself. And what was interesting about that is a lot of people reached out to me, and because they had read my articles, they had seen my videos, my posts, and they said, wow, I never realized I'm going through the same thing, and I think I'm gonna hit my rock bottom soon. Please help. So at some point I started doing free online consultations through Skype or other media with people that would reach out to me through social media so that I could help.
Ideas that you can share or recommend to someone who is watching and maybe finds himself or recognizes himself in your words or in your story. What can be done maybe in the phase of diagnostics or prevention of the syndrome?
Okay, I'm gonna allow myself to turn to the camera for this.
Yes.
Okay. Please realize that burnout and getting to a burnout is like having an addiction. It's something that creeps up and you really have to tackle it. There's 12-step programs that people do when they try to recover from alcoholism or drug addiction. And honestly, the hustle, the grind, the wanting to be 110%, and then the burnout that you experience, it is like a withdrawal from an addiction. So the moment you realize that your body and your mind are more important than whatever somebody thinks of you, all the success that you achieved, this is where you can truly start to recover from burnout. Things that you can do is make yourself a plan. Literally, okay, this is what I'm going to do today. This is where I want to get in my mental health, in my physical health, in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and follow through and start saying no. It sounds easy. It is the hardest thing to learn. but start to say no to people, because if you don't, people will take advantage of you all the time. This is in our nature. So start to say no, start to tackle your priorities, and make a list for your recovery, and take your time, because it's gonna take time.
Great, thank you. And what about now? Where do you find the most significant changes in your approach to work in comparison with the older you?
I said to myself, I want to make work fun again. So for me, for my staff, for people that work with us in different departments, I just want it to be friendly and fun again. Because you don't have to be all business and serious and hustle all the time. You can still achieve the things that you want to achieve. And you know what? You're probably going to make more friends in the company that you work with if you're just smiling more. So this was one thing, smile and fake it till you make it. But the reverse way. So it's really interesting. You can say fake it till you make it when you want to hustle. And that's when you really get into that burnout mindset. You can do the reverse. You can say fake it till you make it, and I'm going to start saying no today. I'm going to smile at this person at the company that I really don't like, but I want to make their day better, because that's going to make my day better. So all these things, I started to reverse the steps that I did before when I was grinding and hustling all the time. Now in the company that I work in, people joke with me that I do so much and how can I be so active, and I keep telling them, guys, for me this is like vacation. You have no idea how much stress and effort I used to put. And now it's just, I'm not going to take a call after 7 p.m. I'm going to shut off the laptop. People have my personal number, people have my social media. If there's an emergency, they can reach me always, obviously. But that doesn't mean I have to always be available. I'm not obligated to be 100% switched on. And this is something that took me years to realize. And my work has not suffered. Quite the contrary, because now I sleep, and when I'm rested, I'm better at work. And there are more things that I can do, and the way that I treat the people that I work with is better. So we grow together better, and it's about balance. And each individual needs to find that balance for themselves after a burnout. There's no unique recipe, really. It's just know your senses, be mindful of your mental health, do whatever you need to do to feel better, and know that you're worth it. That's it. Just value yourself, and from then on, everything's gonna fall into place.
Thank you, Teddy, so much for joining us and for sharing your story. I can only imagine the courage that is needed to be honest with yourself and to self-assess and to make that decision to step down, to invest in finding your balance. And also I was really impressed and humbled by the way you approach your recovery, with sharing with your story with everyone, and also trying to help and reach out. And maybe this is invitation to everyone who's watching and in some way recognizes him or herself in the story of Teddy. Reach out and share your story. It may be someone else you don't even know that can benefit from that. So thank you again for joining us.
If you found this video helpful, please take some action on it. Don't just be sitting there being passively entertained by it. If you recognize yourself in the story, use some of the information or the techniques Teddy have spoke about. You can like, you can comment, you can share it so it can reach to more people and raise awareness on the topic. Thank you.